Hasn't it been a great day? It's been fascinating, so much going on. And I've been here since 8:30 this morning because one of the difficult things about closing something like this is you want to make sure that you're not contradicting too much of what's been said earlier. But you also want to make sure that you've got something different that you can perhaps add. And I think, we've got Sense around. I think one of the interesting themes that has been coming out of here is this whole thing about treating our employees in the same way that we treat our customers. Actually having what I would call ultimately a retail experience. And it's interesting, isn't it? Retailers never say we've designed our experience for our customers exactly the same way as we did for our employees. What actually happens is we concentrate on our customers and we forget about our employees. And I think what we've all gone through and seen and have discussed at various levels in that journey today is where we all are and what we might do in future. So I'm just going to take you through the journey that I've gone through in about the last 18 months. And it really is driven by turning our employees into customers. And the thing is, that's not about sparkly stuff. That's just about putting the employee right at the center first, and then building the technology around that. As we saw right at the beginning, those of you who were here for the very first session this morning, Fox News, it was all about technology, not about people. What we actually have to do is make it about people, and then deliver it through technology. And so what I've done is spent a lot of time with our marketing department. They're the ones who actually talk to our consumers, talk to our customers, and finding out how they did it, and then bringing that back in. And just to kind of give you a bit more of an awareness about me, I'm not just doing this for benefits, I'm not just doing this for reward, I'm not just doing this for HR, I'm just doing this for the whole employee experience in Unilever. Because benefits are just one of those things. We spend our lives talking about those, but they are just another part of the employee value proposition. And there is something called design thinking, which I'm not going to go through in any great detail, because actually I've got 19 minutes left and there's about 4 hours worth of stuff that I want to say. Design thinking, go and look it up online. Actually get 3 friends and go to the University of Stanford website and sit down and learn how to do design thinking in an hour and a half. But the first thing you have to do in this is actually go out and talk to your employees and find out what they feel. And something was said, we need to go and talk to them, find out about them. Do not send a survey out, go and talk to them. Find out what they feel and find out who they are. There was a great comment here just now about, find out what they're like at home, find out how they interact with their family, find out what their needs are. Because what you have to do is actually go out, find out about them, and then find out who they are. And what we've discovered, first of all, and this is a very high-level personas, is that there are 2 different types of people. There are people who are quite happy to go out there and self-serve, and then there are people who actually want to talk to a human being. Now that immediately becomes a problem in the digital space, because what you have to do is move people that way. And what we've done in that space is start to build a global chatbot. At the moment I'm heading up an R&D project, and it is an R&D project, where we're trying to build the biggest chatbot on the planet, which is going to work in 106 countries and speak 35 languages. And is everything that relates to an employee wanting to go into the company will go through that. So if we're going to actually do that, we have to find out about the people and then start to change their attitudes. Someone said to me earlier, people want to talk to a human. Any of you who've gone onto a website and it's come up and said, a retail website, and it said, can I help you? You're probably not talking to a human. You're probably talking to a chatbot. It will take you to a human seamlessly. Because that's the other thing. There are things that absolutely can be self-served, and there are things that go wrong or unusual, and they need a human. And you need to be able to take people through that journey almost without them noticing it. The bot that we're building, when it gets to a point that it can't answer something, it says, would you like to speak to a human colleague? And you actually access it through Skype. So it actually sits in your Skype for Business. We use Skype for Business within Unilever. It sits within your Skype for Business contacts, and it just becomes another contact that you speak to. Some of you may have seen the most recent KLM ad where they're talking about their latest colleague. It's a bot. So we need to do that. But let's actually now go. You will have seen that there was this was called Trigger Awareness Evaluation. The E has been left out and everything that has been said about this. Conversion and delivery. This is how marketing people take you on a journey. I need to, you need to. That's the trigger. Someone gets married and wants to add his wife to his health insurance. What can I have? What's in it for me? How will it work? What's available? How does it work, and how will I have to pay anything? What's the process? And what's the problem that we've discovered in that? That the data, that information is impossible to find, and when you find it, the content is so complex that people actually give up. Then they get to the conversion. People want to actually have a one-stop shop. They don't want to have to go, as someone said, to go here for their pension and there for this and there to get their password changed. They want everything to happen all in one place. And then once it's been delivered, they want us to get it right. First time, every time. And we make too many mistakes in the reward space. Okay? It's either too late or it's wrong. And so these are the problems that we had to fix. And what we didn't do was go and work out the process and sort out the process, do it bottom up. We went and thought about what was the employee experience. And so I'm going to take you through that. And this is a journey that we imagined. And this is the next part of design thinking. So Michael wants to add his wife to his health insurance. He searches online, can I add my wife to my health insurance? Just really simple. But what he gets back is a single issue article outlining the eligibility for someone of his level, because the system knows a bit about him. And it comes back and says, this is it. And it's one question, one answer. It's not a load of FAQs. And then he finds out all the information that he can, through hyperlinks, he can go there. He wants to understand what he gets. He wants to understand the impact it will have. All of these things are a retail experience. If you go to John Lewis' website, this is the kind of thing that you can get really quickly. It's all in one place, okay? And then he finds out that he can enroll via a chatbot. Now, we just asked how many people have been involved in AI, and it is a very small amount, and I feel very privileged to be doing this right now, kind of early on in the AI journey. But one of the great things about a conversational chatbot is that basically it becomes a conversation and you ask questions, and all you're doing is gathering data, which then allows downstream things to happen. Okay? So you don't have to fill in a form. You can just get the data and then send that into the system that needs it. Once he's actually done that, an automatic process sends the data to the carrier, sends the data to the payroll. And then the payroll and healthcare provider confirm back, and the bot tells him that it's happened. If you look at that, what you've actually got is the employee interacting with a Google-type experience, and I've specifically put Google up there, and a chatbot. That's all they've had to do, and everything else has happened below the line. And that's the thing. Now, I'm going to talk about two of those things, first of all, which is the difference when people are actually evaluating their benefits. How many of you provide them with a policy document? Put your hand up. Okay? Does it help? No. How many of you give them a set of FAQs to go through? Yeah? I have actually stated that it is my aim to kill the FAQ. It is frankly the most unpleasant device, and it was only designed to line the pockets of outsourced providers. I actually turned up, I've had a very strange life. I started life as a professional musician, then I worked for the largest headhunter into the world, then I ran an art gallery for 8 years, and then I ended up in Unilever. And the first thing that I went to in Unilever was, we're going to have a meeting about FAQs. I thought, that's great. We're going to work out how we're going to gather all this information about FAQs. No, we were going to sit there and work out what people might think. So I had a real problem with the word frequently and asked, because it had nothing whatsoever to do with this. Now, I'm going to rush through the next couple of slides, because I'm going to talk about something called knowledge-centered support that 17 hours ago went live within Unilever. Knowledge-centered support actually uses knowledge rather than content. This is a real story. I had a colleague who wanted to know if they could sell their vested shares because they needed to put an extension onto their house. It took them 3 days to find something. When they did, they found a set of FAQs, but they were the wrong FAQs, and then they gave up. Then they remembered that previously, a colleague of theirs had done exactly that the previous year. And so he went to them and said, can I sell my vested shares? And she said, yes. Knowledge-centered support allows you to gather all that collective knowledge and shoot it in front of people. It becomes reactive rather than proactive, and actually, it's correct. The data that gets in front of people is correct. So you need to move from, and what we're doing is we are moving from lots of clever people sitting in a room, working out what people might think, might ask. We're moving away from FAQs in a 30-page document. Now hang on to the thought of an FAQ and how it gets used, because I'm going to talk about bots in a minute. It moves away from teams deciding what the answers should be, where you have lots of meetings with SMEs. It moves away from an inconsistent structure and the complex SME language to a structure that is consistent and is plain English, or plain language, because we have to work in lots of languages where I work. It moves from things being impossible to find and use to easy to find and very easy to reuse, and it moves from a process-heavy correction procedure to something which is updated whenever anyone realizes it's wrong. And why have we done this? We've done this because, and interestingly, Debbie, there's something on which is in one of the bullet points, which actually is a factual error. It says, how to devise knowledge articles for the fact that people have a 20-second attention span. Since then, I've read a report which has been argued about by quite a few people. And it says that since the invention of the smartphone, or since the commercial release of the smartphone, people now have a shorter attention span than a goldfish. And a goldfish, and I don't know how they work this out, a goldfish has an attention span of 9 seconds. So think about it. You're an employee, you're a customer, you can either look at a whole list of FAQs and spend ages, or you can ask a question and get an answer. And that's the journey that we've started to go on. And that I would go and look for KCS, go and look for a chap called David Kay online. There's a great 5-minute YouTube video called KCS in 5 minutes. He lies, it's 5 minutes, 30 seconds, but don't worry about that, okay? You move, therefore, to knowledge-centered support, which leverages knowledge as an asset. And it makes it possible, with the way that we've done it anyway, and we've worked with some very good providers, to search and find stuff. From today, people can actually go, it's called Una Hub, and all it has is a search bar, and it says, how can I help you today? There's no navigation, it just takes people. And it's not just for HR, it's for IT, it's for finance, it's for everything. Which leads me to chatbots. Because if you remember, there were just 2 ways in. Actually, there were 3 ways in. There were 2 ways in, 3 ways in. First is chatbot. Second is this Google experience. And the third is a human being. Now, if you think about what we said about 30 pages of FAQs, if you can find something in the FAQ, it's because you understand the intent of what you're looking for. Okay? You understand it, you go through until you find the thing that matches your intent, and then you go, yeah, that's what I want. Okay? If you're using a service desk, if you're using a service desk, a call center, and you're using them to answer questions, the agent does that on your behalf. With chatbots, you're actually getting artificial intelligence to do that. So chatbots are trained, you train a chatbot, it has to have a human involved, really at the beginning. Matt was talking about machine learning and so on. This is where it is mostly at the moment. It will move on. You need to train the chatbot to understand the meaning. Once it's done that, it can do anything. You do that by training it to match utterances to intents. Now, what the hell does that mean? So let's actually bring that into the benefits space. Let's bring it into the health space, okay? I could say to someone, what health benefits do I get? This person here could say, can my wife claim her doctor's fees back? The intent, where you want to go, is the same. And what you have to do is train the artificial intelligence to understand those utterances. The thing that's been really interesting for me over the last several months working on this is there are so many different versions of English on the planet. You have to train it to English first, and then you do the utterances in the Philippines, and then in Singapore, and then in India, and then in America, and then in other places where English is spoken. And then you have to get it to automatically translate, which is a completely different story. It can surface answers to those questions. Once it's done that, it can prompt you for answers and allows you to fill in forms. And then it can be linked to other applications using APIs, application program interfaces, and it can trigger processes, robotic processes. So let's look at this. I think this is the penultimate thing that I want to leave with you. Don't get digitization and digital confused. Digitization is getting your standard processes working in an automated system and talking to each other, so that you have one system for one process with perhaps goes to different places to get its data. So things get joined together. In the context of what we've got here, you have to have an HRS single source of truth. I thought the fascinating thing earlier, right at the beginning, was about the 3% people who said, yes, spreadsheets are fine for us. Good luck with that one. You need to have links into payroll and carriers systems. You need robotic process automation. You need a single source of knowledge, which we've spoken out a bit. You need a choices engine. You need a notification engine. Okay? That's how we delivered what's there. The important thing is that there is an integration level there as well, which allows, at the top, the digital stuff to take place. So you have to build the foundation for your house before you can actually then start doing the shiny thing. And anyone who tells you that there is a silver bullet that you can fire just by putting a bot or putting something in and it will change your world like that, if you haven't done the foundation underneath, truly it won't. Trust me, I've found that one out. So above you have search. We've spoken about that. That gives you generic information. You also then have either a chatbot or SMS. We're in a multinational company. SMS is just the channel that we have to use. And think about this. Kenya has built its entire banking system based on text messaging. So that is personal and specific. It goes and pulls data for you in and out. And when it all goes wrong, you seamlessly send it on to a human. All of this requires a huge amount of change management. Because actually people want to send emails. They want to have a human on the end of the phone. And if you're going to leverage this, you really do need to change the way that they think and the way that they work. And you have to do it one day at a time, one step at a time. So what are the key messages that I would leave? Design an experience for your employees as if they were your customers by using design thinking and engage your marketing department. This is in the wrong note. I knew this was going to happen. Create knowledge articles for a goldfish. Get that information there, just in bite-sized chunks, and make it possible for it to be found. Maximize adoption by getting a fantastic change team in place and make everyone a change agent. Chatbots are children. When you build a new chatbot, it's got the language capabilities of an 18-month-old child. So if you're going to build one, you have to teach it the language. Finally, understand the difference between digital and digitization. Digitize your processes first. Thank you. Are you impressed? That's it.